Hi, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whichever part of the world you are logging in from. Thank you so much for joining me. Many of you who have subscribed to this channel and been watching my videos, you know me as Bhaskar Natarajan, who is a coach, consultant, and I'm very keen to learn from masters. So I bring experts from various walks of life, authors who have been very successful in their ventures by sharing their knowledge. Also, we bring women and men of repute from various fields so that we can learn from them directly. And these live sessions are a way of keeping our motivation high during this pandemic. I'm alone in this room. I follow all the safety protocols whenever I go out. I would request all of you to do the same. And today we have a very special guest, Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai. Uh, he needs no introduction to many of you because he is someone who has been in this management consulting, change, as well as education sector, talking to youth, men, women, leaders of all kinds, government, non-governmental, and so on. And he has written so many books, and it has been translated in many Indian languages. It's been selling in many countries all over the globe, and he's someone who has brought ancient wisdom more accessible to common people, right? Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai has been instrumental in shaping the thought of many governmental agencies, senior leaders in various organizations, for profit as well as not for profit. And he has been in many large gatherings where his effect would last among the minds of youngsters who have gathered to hear him for many more days, right? So he's not just a motivational speaker but also someone who makes us think. So I'm really privileged to welcome Dr. Radhakrishnan Pillai to our channel viewers. Thank you so much, sir, for agreeing to talk to us. We have 30 minutes. Let's make best use of it. Would you like to add anything to the introduction I've given? Anything you want to say to the audience?
No, in fact, I want to thank Bhaskar sir for making me part of it, because you have actually done a lot of coaching, training, mentoring for so many leadership level groups, including your full-time assignments with Tatas and many other companies. So I'm feeling privileged that you are a practicing coach, and I'm going to be talking about one great coach called Chanakya. So let us begin by matching the minds and the thought of two great coaches. And of course, one of them is you. Thank you, Bhaskar sir, for making me part of this particular.
Thank you, sir. Your humility really touches me. You have scaled lots of accolades in your career. As a researcher, you stumbled upon Chanakya, and I know from previous videos on the internet, which is available, where I got to know that you also have lot many mentors in your life who introduced this concept of how we can ignite a young mind. So, can you tell me about some of your mentors who had a great impact in your life? Yeah. So, should I repeat the question, sir?
Yes, please.
Yeah, sure. So I know from watching many of your previous videos that many mentors have impacted you at a very large level, and in your journey you are very proficient, and you have given a lot of sincere gratitude to many people around you. Who has been the most influential of all, if I may ask,
So I always
and why?
talk about three C's and three S. Okay, so the three C's are, Swami Chinmayananji. Okay, that's C. My own father, who is my first mentor, I would call him my first guru, C.K.K. Pillai. And of course, the third mentor I have never met physically, but the thought level 24/7, I think about him. That is Chanakya. So Swami Chinmayananji, C.K.K. Pillai, my dad, and of course Chanakya. Apart from that, three S. S are three females. So S stands for Dr. Shubhada Joshi, who was my PhD guide. The second one is Surekha, my wife. And third is Sushila, my mother. So 3C and 3S. So these are like, the most prominent people who have guided me, helped me at every stage of my life. But of course, yes, there is Dr. Gangadharan Nair, who taught me the 6,000 Sutras of Arthashastra. Of course, Swami Tejomananji of Chinmaya Mission, and the whole lot of teachers that I've learned from. So I believe that, I have been surrounded by a lot of good mentors, and have learned from each one of them in their respective fields and different professions as well.
That's wonderful. And like any great visionary, you don't keep your knowledge with you, and you keep sharing it freely to people who would need them at the right moment. Also, I got to know when I was reading your books, one of them, Inside Chanakya's Mind, has touched me at various levels. And I came across this word Aanvikshiki. That's the topic of the day today. And this word has so many meanings. And the more I read about it, the more I'm really fascinated with our own Sanskrit language. How someone can think of one word with many perspectives. And I know you have named your daughter as Anvikshiki. Every time someone calls her, you are reminded of this concept. So can you tell more about the word and what does it mean to you, sir?
Absolutely. Thank you, Bhaskar, sir. In fact, I would suggest all the listeners, if you have not seen the promo video, please go and see that. Because it was not just a small one, it was a very detailed one about the whole book. So, when I saw that promo trailer video, I was like, wow, my book, it's almost like a book review. So everything about Aanvikshiki is there in that promo video. So please do watch it. Now, coming back to the word, Anvikshiki, it is very fascinating. Okay, so when I actually found this word first time, I never knew the meaning of it. But when I did my MA in Sanskrit, and when I started studying Arthashastra more in detail, I started realizing that this is a very deep word, but unfortunately not available, or at least not known to our generation. And think about it, one of the greatest strategists of all times, Chanakya, is calling Aanvikshiki as Prathama Vidya. The first knowledge required for any particular person or leader is Aanvikshiki. Technically speaking, there are many meanings to Aanvikshiki. It's like a word called dharma. Dharma means principles, dharma means values, dharma means duty, role, etc. In the same way, Anvikshiki also has got multiple meanings. Anvikshiki has got multiple meanings, but the one which I like the most is the signs of strategic thinking. Yes, so it's very, very important to know that Chanakya wanted everyone to be a thinker. He or she has got a faculty called the intellect, but we don't know how to think. And if you look at today's generation, they're going through a lot of mental health problems. So, from physical health, they're moving to mental health issues, and today psychiatry, psychology, everything is like becoming big professions. Now, I always sit and wonder that, the reason why we're getting into mental health problems is we don't know how to solve our problems. But the problem is all here. And Chanakya gives us self-healing techniques using Anvikshiki. So if you have a problem, first use Anvikshiki on yourself. And if you want to solve an outsider problem, use Anvikshiki on others. So I think it's very, very important to know strategic thinking. Unfortunately, we are never taught thinking. We only are taught how to go and give exams in our education system. And I'm so glad that your daughter also got some fantastic marks. So it's very nice to know that students are thinking, studying. But I think education curriculum of Chanakya began by saying that can we be strategic thinkers? And the whole process of how to think differently is what is called Aanvikshiki. And as I suggested, please go and watch that video which Bhaskar Natarajan sir has created. The reason being that it gives you a full gist of the book, and it's almost like a book review. And of course, if you like this, read the whole knowledge of the book, which is Inside Chanakya's Mind. Thank you, Bhaskar sir, for promoting the book as well.
Absolutely, sir. It's my pleasure. In fact, every section you have uh, uncovered certain aspects. I got introduced to Edward de Bono's Six Thinking Hats
Yes.
at a very early stage of my training career, and I have used it in corporate boardrooms with leaders, and it made them think differently and all that. But to come to think of it, 2,500 years ago, someone has already thought about it. And he has already given 7 dimensions of thinking, which is even relevant today. And the eighth dimension of how enemy can be a provocative object of your thinking process. So this is fascinating. Anvikshiki is not just a technique or a tool; it's a way of life. As you rightly said, sir, we need to ask ourselves many such questions which are more relevant. Instead, we keep asking questions which are not relevant, not helping us move forward. So you spoke about both sides thinking, and in today's context, youngsters who are facing career choices, they're only working only on one part of thinking. Like, I know I would succeed. What if I fail? What if I don't make it? What is my plan B? What is my plan C? And so on. This is what comes to my mind when I think of Anvikshiki. How do I make youngsters think in alternate realities, and how we can take them forward? And you have wonderfully put it in many languages in India, and I'm sure youngsters of different states, whether they are in school or college or even starting their career in the pandemic era, where we are working remotely, would benefit a lot, sir. This is absolutely phenomenal. And two parts I wanted to highlight here, sir. One is the soft aspects of Chanakya. You mentioned that there are 5 areas which are very, very um against the popular literature, or what's available in the domain, which portrays Chanakya as a very hard decision maker, who would give clear directions, who cannot be taken for granted, cunning, strategic, and so on. So why did the thought come to you to portray Chanakya's softer side of it?
See, you have to understand that he was a teacher, and we in our culture talk about teacher as the first mother, okay, and mother also as the first teacher. So if you look at it, mothers may look very harsh from outside, but they're very soft from inside. So the perception that we have about Chanakya is that he's a very shrewd person, somebody in the political field, samadana danda veda, all those things. But when I studied the Arthashastra, I realized one thing. Number one, the field that he is in requires a little bit of sternness. So, imagine you're dealing with power. Everybody around you is power hungry, and they're wanting to, take that one seat, and, which is available for maybe 100 people to compete with. So you have to understand that he was in a field where sternness and strictness is a part of the game. So imagine if an administrator or a principal of a college is not strict, he or she can be nice. At the same time, it is also about power, politics, as we talk about it. But that's the face of Chanakya, or I would say the outer version of Chanakya. But when you go inside, you start looking at saying that he's such a great teacher, a great scholar, and who never wanted anything for himself. His very clear agenda is to build a great nation. And we have a historical proof that using Chanakya's techniques and his book called the Arthashastra, he made India the richest part of the world. So it is not about Mama Sukha, it is about Praja Sukha. So when somebody thinks about I, me, myself, he can be a very cunning person. He can show a nice face outside and say, oh, nice, nice, nice. But he can be very selfish and very, very deeply only looking at fulfilling his or her desires. But Chanakya was reverse. Outside very strict, but inside very selfless. So I think it was very prominently clear for me that this side of Chanakya is to be imbibed in the next generation. That please don't take us for granted. We Indians have been taken for granted for so many generations, but the time has come to say, listen, okay, we know when to draw the line and show that we are also, world leaders in our own way. We don't want anybody to follow us. That's not the idea, or be servants to us. No. But at the same time, if you consider ourselves as, some ordinary people, sorry, we have a Rishi Parampara. We are part of the knowledge system, and we have given knowledge freely to the world. So I think Chanakya's this side was very important to say, yes, you may be looking shrewd outside, but inside you're very clear with your objective to build a nation, and every person a spiritual person, and every person a spiritual leader in his or her way. That's Chanakya for me.
Absolutely. And you emphasize heavily on self discovery. We have to manage our internal aspects like lust, anger, greed, pride, arrogance, all those aspects. Only then the outer victory would come. And I was really happy to see that you correlate that with what Dr. Stephen Covey mentioned in his 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Private victory comes before public victory, right? And you also quote many examples from conventional modern day management gurus, how Chanakya has beat them all, right? It's so many centuries ago. And how is it still relevant? That's the fantastic part that you bring in these books. I'm sure youngsters of this age may not be able to go to ancient scriptures, read, or get that time, but you are distilling it easily available, ready to eat, ready to go, kind of a format. uh, so that's again another phenomenal thing. The last thing I wanted to highlight from your book, sir, is about there is a time for everything, right? In the olden days, 90-minute section is called naliga, right? And the 90 minutes a day time is divided into 8 sections of 90 minutes. Similarly, night is also divided into 8 sections. What a leader should do, and what time leader should go to bed, and what time he should consult, or what time he or she should study, self reflection. All that is mentioned in Chanakya's book, and which is correlating with neuroscience findings of the day, right? Can you say more about that? How did you see this section of it?
So this comes in a very interesting part of the Arthashastra called as the daily routine of a king. So, if you don't plan your day, the day is already wasted. So a lot of leaders and especially employees should know what is called as time management on a daily basis. And so imagine, you get up in the morning, you know what to do. You have a complete plan in place. You have strategic thinking. You have a lot of administrative work. You have a lot of, people to meet, etc., etc. So Chanakya was a scholar, and he actually said, "Okay, this is the daily timetable for a king." Now the interesting part, he says that follow this, but be flexible as well. Now, this is where the Chanakya softer side comes in. Especially when we go to schools, and if you look at the army kind of a discipline, if you don't come on time, if you don't do this, you'll be punished. Okay, but Chanakya said there is a timetable, but this timetable is not for beginners only. It is for mature leaders, and they may have multiple priorities. So keep your timetable clear, but also keep your timetable flexible. So have a plan and go with the flow. Now, this is very interesting because the leader's priorities can change every single moment. So you can't, suppose something emergency comes in and you don't have planned for it. You're on a meeting and it comes and saying, sir, there is some fire over there in the factory. I think we require attention. He says, wait, according to my timetable, which Chanakya says I'm not supposed to go into emergency. I'm supposed to finish off this meeting. Sorry. Chanakya himself says, here is a plan, but you should know what is the priority on a regular basis, depending on what is the demand that is there for you. So coming back to the point that, you said about time management, with the olden days or now, there'll be always this 24 hours. But interestingly, this 24 concept itself is something quite, unique. So why 24? That's a mental game. So we had this concept of not 24, but of course, sunrise to sunset, the time will be the same. But the reality is that we had a very different concept of 1.5 hours. Today is what we call as 1.5 hours, So it's very important to know human mind start with anything, okay? It requires that 1.5 hours. So if you look at what you rightly said about neuroscience and things like that, 1.5 hours is the perfect time to actually do something very deep. Okay? So let me tell you, if you look at English movies, they're generally 1.5 hours. And we Hindi movies are like 3 hours, 2.5 hours. So what you're saying, you have a lot of entertainment, masala in that. Good effective meetings are also 1.5 hours. Okay, and you'll be surprised, even though it's 1.5 hours, there is something called a high and a low time. For example, when you get into something, it takes you at least 15-20 minutes to settle down. And afterwards, last 15-20 minutes is to exit. Your mind will not have so much focus. Remember that, one is called warm up, and the last part is called slow down, cool down. So when you're doing exercise also, you require a warm-up time, and then you're actually exercising, and then after it's done, cool down. So in that 1.5 hours, even if you have, maybe 1 hour of actual productivity. That's deep work. And leaders need to do a lot of deep work. I do that even today. Let me tell you, the first 6 hours of my day, it's absolutely 6 hours. That means 4 cycles of 1.5 hours. So first 3 hours is absolutely I, me, myself, which I call the private life, as per Stephen Covey, which you mentioned. So that's my meditation time, that's my yoga time, that's my personal time, my prayer time. Next 3 hours is actually writing and thinking time. Okay, so I do write every day for 3 hours. Yeah, that's my speed. But before that, this is like my world. But then afterwards, it's public life. And then every decision is fast, fast, fast. I never mix it up. How did I learn this? Again from Chanakya. And for all the people who are over here in a very different lucky generation, that you can actually decide what your timing can be. Work from home. We are all doing thinking work. There is no understanding of when to stop or when to start. But remember one thing, Chanakya will tell you how to prioritize your work, how to prioritize the activity, and most important, make every moment productive and efficient. That's what Chanakya's dinacharya or daily activity is. Read the book and you'll get a lot of insights into that.
Absolutely right. And you also spoke about two models of thinking in the book. One is the administrative part, the other is the leadership part. And as a manager, there is reference from Chanakya's work how to promote a team member, right? From a rank of, say, uh, assistant manager to a manager or to a senior manager, what are the conditions for them to grow? What happens if you don't grow them? What are the signs of loyalty? How to extract loyalty from team members? These are amazing concepts, sir. And after 22 years of corporate life, it took me the University of Hard Knocks to teach me how to get there. But Chanakya has done it wonderfully well and detailedly codified this knowledge so many years ago. And when you consult senior leaders from government, non-government, and other places, how do you see them absorb this and put this to practice, sir?
Very, very nice question, Bhaskar sir. See, I work with two kind of people. Either they're leaders or they're potential leaders. Because remember one thing, Chanakya's wisdom is called Raja Vidya. It is not meant for everybody. It's not a mass game. It's a class game. So it's like very, very high education. In fact, Bhishmacharya in the Mahabharata says Raja Vidya is the highest education. Not just higher education, highest education. In fact, he calls it Raja Vidya iti Parama Vidya, which includes spiritual knowledge also. Okay, and Bhagavad Gita also talks about Raja Vidya. So think about it. Leadership knowledge is not meant for everybody. Yet, at the same time, everybody has got a potential to become a leader. So when I work with leaders, let me tell you, who are already existing leaders, who are decision makers, or chairmen, CEOs of companies, head of departments, they understand Chanakya like this. Okay, it's like saying, "No, don't worry, this is the thing," and they have the power to apply it immediately, and they can see the results. It's like fish in the water. But for those people who are potential leaders, still not understanding what leadership is all about, it takes time. It hits them and said, "Okay, but I have not still understood it." So I said, "Wait, the time will come." So I think I work with these teenagers, as you rightly pointed out. I've been very fortunate to actually, be with a lot of these young boys and girls who are in schools and colleges. So they understand the concept, okay, but they don't experience it because they're not yet leaders. Now, if you look at our generation and if you look at our children, they're born in a different era. They are not going to think like us, go for a job and get some money. They don't care. For them, it's like saying that, tell me, how do I get my potential out? So ours was a very linear model, saying that, study, go to this field, make money, get married, settle, over. Today, they can have multiple kind of opportunities simultaneously. In fact, this generation that I work with, especially the ones who are out of college or just into the first stage of their career or still in college and their career is being built, you'll be surprised. You should not teach them to have one career. That's a wrong thing, because we are trying to look at our past models being applied in the future generation. They should think like leaders who can do multiple potential and bring out multiple things. And it's called polymathic way of thinking. So you can be a musician simultaneously, you can be an author, you can be a scientist. Currently the Olympics is going on. Some of you must have read it in or whatever WhatsApp news. So there's a lady who is a PhD, a scientist, who's got a doctoral degree. She's a teacher, and she's doing a postdoctoral program, and she won an Olympics gold medal in cycling. Now think about it. You don't need to Sachin Tendulkar to be only focusing on cricket. So it's a misconception, especially in our generation, that you can only follow one path. In fact, if you can have different perspectives, you actually become a better leader. So coming back, for me, I work with two people who are already leaders, and they say, "Wow, Radha sir, it works, it works." Because at that level, it's all about perspectives. You don't have to train them because they're already in power, but still, the people in power require guidance. The second group of people is the next generation who are full of energy, full of possibility, full of opportunity, but require direction. So I think for the first leaders kind of group, it's very easy to work because they understand what is leadership. But Chanakya gives you a perspective. But for the next generation, which is going to be taking up the leadership position, it's about grooming them that when they become leaders, it becomes very easy. It's like hitting sixer in the first ball itself. So I'm fortunate to have leaders or potential leaders who learn Chanakya through me.
Absolutely. And I had a fortune of reviewing the draft of our new national education policy. And as you rightly said, it has a lot of nuggets from various disciplines to say how we can create an inquiry-based curriculum where students will start asking questions, and it won't be like a OTP, right? One trick pony. In the circus, there'll be one pony which will do only one trick. Gone are those days. You need a pony which can do multiple tricks and dabble in many
Yes.
things.
Yes.
So yeah, we are not in a OTP economy now. Yes. So given that, the national education policy is also veering towards that, sir. I think Aanvikshiki, as a part of the curriculum, as you mentioned in the book, at the early stages of a child, is a reality now, and it's going to be much more fruitful as we go forward. It will also help as a nation not to produce order takers,
Yes.
right? Who would only wait for instruction and carry instruction to the T. But we need thinkers. We need people who can do research on their own and come up with their own answers so that they can lead a wonderful, fulfilling life. So thank you so much for your contribution. I think many more books are in store for you. Please do keep writing. Don't restrict yourself with 3 hours every day. Please add more. I'm sure you will also continue to share your knowledge through your Facebook and many other medium. I'm seeing you are continuously doing a lot of online workshops. May God give you all the strength, health, and happiness to carry on this legacy, sir, for many more years to go. And I'm sure in our lifetime in Olympics, we would see many more medals, and many more times Indian national anthem will be sung in the podium when we have Aanvikshiki as a reality, added into the curriculum, and youngsters start thinking on our own, become better leaders for tomorrow. And I'm sure we are on the right track. Thank you so
I want,
much.
I want to thank you, Bhaskar sir, for being part of this journey as a friend, philosopher who has actually taken this message to many. I would also like to seek the support of you, your team, and of course, all the listeners. Please, please, please think like Chanakya. Because Chanakya is equal to success in every field. I'll repeat it as I stop. Chanakya is equal to success in every field that you choose. Choose your field, apply Chanakya, you will go and reach success at the global level. Thank you so much for being part of this.
Absolutely. There is a Chanakya in each one of us, and let's invoke that great coach, mentor. And he's also proficient. He was also proficient in many fields, gemology, right? As you rightly mentioned in the book, he has touched astronomy, astrology, any science that he can lay his hands on. And he had created a great network of information collection agents, and that's how he knew Alexander is going to come to conquer India. And he put a system in place like a global leader would do. So he's not just for India. He had huge vision, amazing way of networking, collaborating, knowing your enemy really well, and how to avoid further conflicts, escalation, and so on. So there is a Chanakya in each one of us. Thank you so much for invoking that in all of us. Good luck, sir.
Thank you
Stay
so
safe.
much. Thank you, sir.